looks like we're up and running. Thank you for being here. Today is the 15th of November, 2021. And I know that InfoWars and AJ are on right now. And normally I won't put up a live stream during others' efforts to try to get information out. But after my video from yesterday and also the fact that I heard AJ saying that our illustrious General Flynn and President Trump are aware of what's going on and are trying to figure out what course to take. I just got so aggravated, I lost my patience. And this is a continuation of this. So I don't mind setting up a live stream during Alex Jones' live show right now. I don't care about that. I'm not going to take that many viewers from him, if any at all, and it doesn't really matter. But what I have to say needs to be said again today. I mentioned a Twitter account yesterday that goes by GG Sims 10. And it is in the thread I was specifically referring to on Twitter is in the description box below. It's very important. It's probably one of the most, to get a concept, to get an understanding of where this thing really is that we're going through, where it came from, and who was aware of it at the time. And it doesn't go as far back as it could, but it tags a very important study, and you need to see it. And I'm going to talk about it here in just a minute. If you don't have Twitter, I've never tried this, but I understand that if you just go on the internet and type in twitter.com and then the thread that you want to see, that it is public information, you can go get it, okay? Just so you know, in case you don't have Twitter. Not having Twitter won't prevent you from accessing that thread, or any other for that matter, apparently, okay? Hi, Ms. Cat. Nice to see you. And thank you all for being here. Now, the reason why I called this title the way I did is because everything about Trump is now being used to pick our bones of our flesh, to try to get us to get back with him and to use the things that he supposedly stood for to get people to pay attention to what these folks like Alex Jones are talking about. Again, not to say that all their information is bad, quite the opposite. Most of it's good. But this grifting, this stroking to get the followers of Trump to follow him and to stroke Trump so that he can have access, and again, this continuing financial support is just too much for me to bear. Okay? So I really don't give a damn right now. Hi, Caldwell, Idaho. Nice to see you. So let me get to the meat of this. While all of them are jumping on this Trump carcass so that they can pick what flesh is off of it, so that they can grift off of it for a little while and give everybody a false hope, there are people out there that are finally, well, they have been for some time, there are people out there that are calling this for what it is. And they're absolutely fantastic researchers. They shoot straight. They don't pull any punches. And they've been ostracized because of their truth telling by the GOP establishment and by MAGA. And MAGA is, by the way, a word of sorcery and a word of mass hypnosis, like so many other things are. I resisted saying that for a long time, but I just have to admit that it's the case. With everything else now that we know about Trump, yeah, it is. So in the description box below are 3 links. The first one is to GG Sims 10 account on Twitter with a thread, and it's very important that you read the entire thread to understand what it is she's saying. She includes a paper, a research paper, done by Johns Hopkins University Medical School entitled The Pandemic and the Supply Chain. And it was published, get this, in November of 2020. All right? And the essence of this thing, so that you're aware of it, and I'm going to use a few little words here that, of course, are veiled so that, I don't trigger the AI, etc., or some goon, some nerd geek listening to this who has a little button, to censor. So I'm a little veiled. What it will tell you, what her thread will tell you first, read it first. It'll give you a synopsis. If you don't want to go through the entire paper, I understand, but you really ought to. But I don't expect most people to have that kind of patience or inquisitiveness. But basically what it comes down to is they knew the GMIs were dangerous in November of 2020. That is the essence of the paper. And that because of that, they had to take into consideration how they were going to get this thing out into the supply chain before it became obvious how dangerous it is. They come right out and say it. Now, to his credit, AJ has talked about that very thing. But then he goes and he doesn't place any blame on Trump, or if he does, it's quick, it's over with, and he leaves it. Trump is pushing this GMI to this day. And because of that, there are those mindless followers out there that say to themselves, because he says it's safe, I'm going to go do it. So he's maiming, injuring, making people sick, and murdering people. Trump is, just as much as Gates, Fauci, Klaus Schwab, any of them. And more so because he has a responsibility, because people want to believe him. They think he's a savior. He's a mass murderer at this point. And anybody who backs him up is an accessory to mass murder. And I won't do it. But AJ continues it. For what? Clicks, money, and access. He is a vulture. And he's picking your flesh as well. Unless he calls Trump out every day in every segment, and Flynn too for that matter, at this point. All right, so first link, GG Sims 10. Go get it. If you have to type it in, you can copy the link. Go to the web page, the web, put it in the URL box, hit enter, and it'll take you to the Twitter account. Read the entire thread, and also I would suggest that you read the Johns Hopkins research paper and possibly even download it as a PDF. I think it's that important. Now, on Gigi Sims' account, she also talks about a speech that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. made over in Europe just the other day. And he talks about the fact that this whole thing is a war by nations against their own people. For many of the reasons I've already suggested, that they don't want to have they don't want to keep funding the social contracts, especially the Social Security type programs that they have. Understand that. I know that that's a problem, but there are other ways to approach this rather than murdering millions and ultimately billions of people. So on her thread, please look for that as well. It's been within the last day or two, okay? So there's this one, which is the pandemic and the supply chain thread that she has, which is the link, first link in the description box. And while you're there, you might want to listen to Robert F. Kennedy's speech if you haven't heard it yet. By the way, they took off Dr. Carrie Madej off of Twitter. They're silencing. This isn't science. This is a religion. And you are excommunicated if you don't believe the religion. That's not science. That's religion, and it's the worst type. It's a dogmatic religion that not only excommunicates you, but executes you if you don't toe the faithful line. And we're seeing it all over. But along with that, it's a war of propaganda to soften you up, as I said the other day, to soften you up. Then they're softening you up if you submit to this system and get the treatment. They're softening you up so that then when they hit you with the next thing, you will not survive. Second link in the description box is the link to Stephen Coughlin's Twitter account as well. And then the third link that I have in there is a link to Stephen Coughlin's and Richard Higgins' site, unconstrainedanalytics.org. Between Gigi Sims, Stephen Coughlin, and their unconstrainedanalytics.org, you get some of the best information about what's happening, why it's happening. The communists take over, the mass line force. You probably don't know what that means. You'll find out when you read Stephen Coughlin's stuff. You'll find out where we are and why we can't shake this off. Because they're attacking full force, as I've said, multi-pronged, in-depth. Absolutely. And they control everything. They've had years to take it over, and your DOD and your FBI and your IC aren't there to protect you. They are there to ensure your demise. Indeed, it is full spectrum dominance. We have a few heroes. The Adjutant General of the Oklahoma National Guard has spoken up. And of course, the establishment and all of the news media jumped on him, which should tell you that he's on the right track. Hi, Felicia. How you doing? So I just wanted to get that out there today. I had a little exchange with Gigi on Twitter on the DMs, and like many of us, she's pretty frustrated that the word is being hushed, that the information is overridden, censored. People aren't aware of it, a lot because they choose not to be. So at least for the people here that know of my concerns, and if you have the same concerns, you need to give Gigi a follow, and also Stephen Coughlin. They're a couple of the last real true voices out there in the conservative community that don't bow to the altar of Trump. And they'll tell you like it is. All right. Well, that's all I've got. I'm sure you've got a lot more to do than to listen to me talk. What's this? I listen to everything. Yeah. I guess I can't explain it any better than that. I'll just say it again. I'm very disappointed that Alex Jones is such a hypocritic coward. And he is. And he's leading people into a false hope that's going to come and bite us all in the ass, because where it is, it's a place of no action, only submission. He tells people that he wants them to do something. Stand up and do something. Don't just sit there. And then he tells everybody to trust Trump and Flynn. They had their shot, and they took you down a primrose path of failure, hypocrisy, and betrayal. And as the popular saying goes, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Well, that's Trump to a T. Don't come back at me and say, well, how come you don't talk about Biden? That's prima facie manifest in your face. What he's doing is obviously evil. It's easy to see. It's right in front of you. Trump does it in a lot different way. He uses his narcissistic uh, uh, character and his persona to disarm you, thinking that he's your best friend when he's not been anybody's best friend. I've told you, he stiffed contractors in Vegas. He told the head of the Foxtrot Delta Alpha that if he didn't get that GMI okayed, that he's going to get fired. Really? So it was so important to skip all the safety stuff that he would fire the head of the Foxtrot Delta Alpha to get that out there. You know what that is? That means he was more concerned about his political capital than he was about your life. He wanted to sacrifice your life for his political career or for his master, the Master Mayhem, the commander of this world, the demon that rules this world until God decides otherwise. Okay, I've pontificated enough. I'm just thoroughly disgusted. Please. You know, I miss Bettina. Boy, she could really hit it hard too. But Gigi's there and Stephen Coughlin are there in the description box below. I guess that's it for the day. See you later.